Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Courtney Johnson-Rose. I'm here today at the HAR Housing Symposium. Wow, the information is so timely, it's so relevant, it's just good. We just had a panel on home builders, down payment assistance. This afternoon, we have AI in real estate.
It's great, man. I tell people all the time, there's one thing to be in the room, which everybody always talk about, but it's another thing to be impactful in the room. This is a great networking event with people from all walks of life, all different backgrounds and different experiences that are merging together, and you have an opportunity to learn, grow, and network, and that's what we've been getting today. I had a great opportunity to be a panelist and speak about what we've done with Prosperity Bank and all the opportunities that we bring into the marketplace, but even off the stage, I had an opportunity to meet with so many great people and learn what they are doing and how we can combine and come together in collaboration over competition.
Hi, my name is Lexi Bogney. I am a realtor with Next Home, the Next Home Luxury Premier Brokerage. So this is my first official housing symposium as a licensed realtor, and I just want to say it's an amazing opportunity to get to be here today. This is my mom's event as she's the governmental affairs director, but that aside, it's just a great way and opportunity to get to learn some new information about what's going on in the housing market today. It's really shown me how housing and affordability is not impossible, it's very possible. And so I'm just having a great time learning everything, soaking up new information. We just had a great panel about AI, and so I'm excited to get use of that and learn how to use it for my business as well.
HAR.com is real-time house buying. When I compared it with the other sites, it was more up to date. I had never seen anything like that. It allowed me to have more confidence in the decision that I was making to buy a house.
Good morning. Welcome back to Member Focus Monday. I'm Claudia Hernandez, Director of Video Services for HAR, and today we're talking about something every realtor thinks about, but often feels overwhelmed by: marketing. Our guest today is Christina Schaefer, HR's Director of Social Media and Sponsorships, and she's here to help us think about marketing in a smarter, more intentional way for 2026. And Christina works closely with our members every day. I know you all know her well, helping them build visibility, connect with their audiences, and use digital tools more effectively. So today she's going to be sharing practical strategies to simplify your marketing, set clear goals, and build a plan you can actually stick to. What a concept. So if you've ever felt like you're doing a lot but not seeing the results you want, this episode is for you. So let's kick things off by hearing a little bit about your background with HAR, Christina.
Well, thank you so much, Claudia, for that intro. I want you to go everywhere with me and just introduce me from now on. So, as you know well, I have been with HAR for about 14 and a half years now, which honestly feels a little wild to say out loud. I started at HAR as a full-time instructor. I was teaching a lot of different classes, matrix classes, tools classes. But one of my favorite subjects to teach was social media, marketing, technology. I loved that side of it. So when a social media manager role became available at HAR, it just felt like a natural fit for me. And from there, the role really grew into what it is today. That was several years ago now. So now I serve as HAR's Director of Social Media and Sponsorships. I lead our digital marketing efforts, social media strategy, and I work closely also with partners and sponsors across different programs and events. And of course, I usually am hosting Member Focus Monday. That rolls on you today. But also, we have the HAR On the Move podcast, which I co host with Andrea Rocha, and HAR Community Conversations, which is a monthly live stream geared toward more of a consumer audience. But of course, we love when our realtor members watch that as well. And it's honestly when I'm doing these different streams and podcasts, it's one of my favorite parts of the job because it lets me stay connected with our members and the topics that matter most to them, which we'll talk about today, tailoring your content to your actual audience. So, but at the end of the day, I really love helping realtors feel more confident in how they show up with intention, market themselves, and use tools that make your life easier. So that's kind of in a nutshell also what we'll be talking about today, I think.
That's it, right? So you don't sleep, obviously, by that list of duties that you gave us.
No.
So let's go ahead and get started. And, when realtors have trouble with their marketing or they're not seeing any return on their investment, they just think, well, let me just do more marketing. Let me just put a whole bunch out there. So what would you say is the difference between more marketing and smarter marketing?
Yeah, so you kind of shared some of it already because smarter marketing doesn't necessarily mean doing more, right? It's about being intentional. Actually, one of my personal New Year's resolutions for this year was to show up with intention in everything I do. And I think that applies perfectly to marketing and social media instead of just posting, throwing spaghetti on the wall, as people say. Smarter marketing means knowing what you're trying to accomplish, who you're trying to reach with that intention. And, if your marketing feels confused, or excuse me, if it feels more focused, it's more authentic and it's a lot less stressful. If it's not like that, it can be confusing to your audience. So smarter marketing is simple, it's strategic, it's sustainable, and it's about showing up with intention on purpose instead of just out of pressure because I know I need to post something today.
Right, exactly. So, and because of that, because agents feel like they need to post every day or more than once a day, they feel overwhelmed and they feel overwhelmed by social media, by videos. I have to do this, I have to do that. So, what do you think that is? Why do you think that is? And what is the first mindset shift that they should make for 2026?
Yeah, I think a lot of reasons that agents feel overwhelmed with marketing is because there is just so much noise out there. Everyone is telling you have to be on every platform, you have to post every day, multiple times a day, you have to jump on every trend. And if you don't do it all, you're somehow failing or falling behind, right? That alone is just exhausting, and I see it happen all the time. You go to your office meeting on a Tuesday, and some agents talking about how amazing TikTok is and how they've blown up on TikTok, and you're like, oh, I haven't even opened that up yet, right? So there's overwhelm because you don't have a strategy, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a minute. But also one of the big reasons why we feel overwhelmed is scrolling. In fact, if anyone's ever taken a class with me, I don't even call it scrolling. I just call it wasting time, because agents spend so much time watching what everyone else is doing instead of focusing on what actually moves their own business forward. So most realtors don't need more ideas. They just need clarity, a plan, and I'm going to give everyone a gift this morning, permission to stop comparing themselves to everyone else.
Right. Yes. Well, thank you so much for that. Everybody needs to hear that, especially at the beginning of the year, right? We have all these goals. We want to make all these changes. So Christina's here to give us all of those tips, tricks, all that information. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat and we'll get to them. Our first question is from Tina Wilcher, an instructor and member that we all know pretty well. And she asks, do the videos we create have to be edited and all the other stuff, or can it just be a natural or organic without the editing, the music, etc.? So I get this question a lot with video. And people ask, what's the difference? What do I need both? Do I just go one route? What's the difference? And what do we need to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, this I feel like is a better question for you, Tina. And hi, Tina. Thanks for tuning in this morning. But I think we both share the same idea that there's a time and a place for each, right? A highly edited, well-produced video that you can do in one of our studios with Claudia or Christian. There's a time and a place for that, but also just showing up authentically is one of the most amazing things you can do for your marketing. When I show up on Monday mornings to do these streams, if for doing this for now over 7 years that I've been streaming weekly, there's no way I could do that and not be authentic in how I show up. Yes, do I have my makeup on? Did I fix my hair? Do I have good lighting? Of course, all of those things are done because this is a professional stream representing a business, right? But you can't show up consistently if you're not showing up authentically.
Right. And it's exhausting, right? So trying to be somebody different, I would think that would be so exhausting. So why wear yourself out while you're trying to do something new? So, so what would you say when our agents sit down to plan their year? What's the biggest mistake you see them make? It's still January and they're still making plans for their marketing for the rest of the year. So what's one mistake you see them make time and time again?
Well, if they are actually sitting down to plan their year, they're ahead of other people who aren't sitting down to plan their year. So let's just start there. Kudos to you if you are planning ahead. But the biggest mistake that I think they make when they sit down to actually plan their year is they skip the goal and jump straight into the tactics, right? They start thinking about what they're going to post, what platforms they're going to use, what trends they're going to try before they've actually decided what they want their marketing to do. So again, without clarity, everything becomes random because if there's no clear goal, there's no filter. You end up doing everything, a bit of everything and chasing ideas that don't connect back to your business. So, and again, that leads into that overwhelm that we discussed earlier. So if you have a clear goal, everything gets easier and the strategy has direction. Your time is better spent. Your time is so valuable and you're not spending it as wisely if you're not having a clear plan with a clear goal and a clear direction. So once you do those things, your marketing starts working for you and it feels a lot less like busy work.
Right. And it becomes easier, right? I hear that a lot, well, editing videos is hard and posting these things is hard and it just becomes easier with time. So, as I usually tell them when they're wanting to do videos, like just do it. You have to start somewhere, right? You can't just let it act like it's going to happen organically. So, so now we're going to go into a question from Christy. So I'm going to read Christy's question, but then I have another part of that question for you. So Christy said, I'd love to do more marketing, but it seems like everything charges a fee or an app or a service. So how can you market without subscribing to several creative apps? I totally understand this. There's a ton of video apps out there. So you talked about clear marketing goals. So what should realtors be asking themselves before they start posting and spending money? And like she said, buying all the apps, buying all the equipment and doing all the things. So what should they be focusing on more?
Yeah. So I'm gonna talk about the marketing goals first, and then we'll get into the part of the question about the actual tools, because that's another piece of it is realtors jump into, oh, everybody told me I need to download this app to create video or whatever. But maybe that's not necessarily a part of your goal that you need to be focusing on. So instead of vague goals like I want to do better on Instagram or I want to post more this year, I encourage realtors to think in terms of real business outcomes. So ask yourself, what do you actually want your marketing to do for you? Do you want more listing opportunities this year? Do you want more referrals this year from past clients? Do you want to have more buyer conversations? Or do you maybe want to be the go-to agent in a specific neighborhood or niche? So when those goals are clear, your marketing decisions get easier and you stop posting random. And you know what type of content to focus on and what platforms matter and how to get there. So kind of going to Christy's question here, it can be overwhelming, like you said, and like because you've taught and done presentations talking about a million different video editing tools, just as an example. It can be overwhelming. So my suggestion is to come up with that clear goal. And I think we're going to talk about audiences here in a little bit too, but coming up with that clear goal so that you then know what you want to do and then find the tools that are going to get you there. One thing that I think people forget is these tools are supposed to make your job easier. If you are using a tool, any tool, video editing tool, some kind of language model, photo editing app, whatever it is, and it's difficult to use and you're struggling to use it, you need to either A, devote some time to learn the tool, or B, ditch the tool and find a better one, because the tools are supposed to make your life easier. Now, again, going to Christy's question here, I'm a big fan of free. You know that about me, Claudia. I'm a big fan of free. And most of those companies have trial periods, 5-day trial, 7-day trial, 14-day trial. I'm a big fan of sign up for that trial period, actually use it for that trial time, and then decide if you like it, right? And you can hop around. Maybe there's 3 different apps that are there for, again, let's just say video editing. And I've heard all of them are good from different people. They all charge. I'm going to try this one today and see how it works, see if I like it. Really dive in and try to learn how to use it. Try this one tomorrow. Which one do I like better, right? So utilize that. And so you're spending your time and your money wisely.
Right. And even not just the trial, but even the free versions. There's different levels of these subscriptions. Some of them are free. They may not have all the bells and whistles, but at least you get to know the app and, how it's set up and where all the buttons are and everything, so that you're not spending all that money. So that's great advice. Thank you. So I know you mentioned
real quick, Claudia, I just wanted to share, there was a comment from Soraya. She said, iPhone does it all free and use the social media app edit options in those apps implemented. Again, I'm a big fan of free. A lot of those functions already exist in your device. So use that if that's going to help you. So thank you for that comment.
Yeah. And it's a good place to start too, because a lot of those apps are now really closely set up to editing apps, right? How they look and how they're all the functions of them, they look really similar. So it's a great way to start a little mini tutorial using, say, Instagram editing, and then move on to an editing app. So that's great advice. And then, Zoraya did say on trends, if it doesn't align with your character and who you are, then don't do it. Just because it's trending, it's not always a good choice to do. So we've heard this a lot with when TikTok was big during the pandemic, and so many realtors were like, well, I don't want to look silly and dancing and getting on screen and doing things. Like, you don't have to do that, right? I know you've mentioned this before, like you don't have to follow along everything, but pay attention.
Yeah. You should know what's going on, but doesn't mean you have to do it yourself.
Yeah. All right. So you talked about audiences, right? So we know our audience here when we're doing this Facebook Live. But how important is it for our realtors to know their audience, and how specific should they get, like really down and niche to which specific audience they should focus on?
Yeah, honestly, this is probably one of the most important questions of the whole bunch, because knowing your audience is everything. And I've already kind of hinted at this a little bit when it comes to creating your strategy, because if you don't speak to a specific audience, you're just trying to speak to everyone. You're speaking to everyone. And sometimes you end up connecting with no one. So kind of even like I mentioned, I've been streaming with HAR for 7 years now. There's a reason that people are tuned in. There's a reason that people show up. If I'm 1 minute late, 9:01, they're like, hey, do we have a show today? Like, what's going on? Where are you? And there's a reason for that. And that's because, myself and our team and our staff, we're always trying to stay up to date with what is important to our members. What are our members worried about right now? What are our members focused on right now? What do our members need guidance with right now? And we try to bring that to you, right, in this platform, and utilize this platform to help you as much as we can. So when you're clear on who you actually want to work with, everything just gets easier, right? Your content ideas come faster. Your messaging feels and sounds more natural, and you stop second guessing. And people have probably been around me where I'm sitting in a meeting and I hear a group of realtors talking about this issue, talking about this fear, this new thing, whatever it is. And I'm immediately messaging someone, hey, can I get you on the show in a couple weeks? Because I know if this is a pain point for this group of people sitting in this advisory meeting, in this board meeting, whatever it is, then it's an issue or a pain point for most of our members probably. So again, it starts with making smarter decisions about where to spend your time. Different audiences hang out on different platforms. So you need, and they respond to different content at different ways and different speeds. So you have to know your audience to be relevant. And excuse me, I'm sorry. And the truth is, also clarity attracts confidence. So when you know who you serve, your marketing just feels more focused, more authentic, and frankly, a lot more effective. So I also wanted to mention here, don't be afraid to be very specific, very niche. For example, I'm looking to work with veterans in the Woodlands. Okay. That is very specific, very niche. And you can do so well in your business with what may feel like a small audience, because that's the audience that I'm marketing to, but I'm still going to have a ton of referrals that come out of that audience too. So, so really probably one of the most important things to think about as you're making your plan is you have to clearly define your audience.
Right. And I think that scares some realtors because they're afraid that if I find that niche and I focus on that, I'm going to turn away other audiences. But I don't think that's true. I think most consumers know that every realtor works all over the Houston area. They can help you anywhere and in any aspect. So I think we need to let go of being afraid that we might remove other audiences when we're focusing on what we know best, right?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
We have a couple of comments from our audience here. So from Mary, she asked, how can realtors measure whether their marketing is actually working? So there's a lot of different ways on different platforms to figure that out, but how can you know that what you're doing is actually sticking?
Yeah, and I'm so glad you asked this, Mary, because this is a question that some realtors don't take time to think about, right? They just, again, throw the spaghetti on the wall and just hope it's working and then go back to writing a contract, right? But analyzing your analytics sounds funny, but looking at those analytics on a consistent basis really is just very, very important. Every company that is marketing to you in any way possible, they are looking at the analytics. They are making sure that what they put in front of you is working and it's effective. Why aren't realtors doing that? Right? You've got to look at those analytics. So as Zariah said earlier, a lot of these platforms have this stuff built into it. Meta Business Suite has a very detailed analytic page. Instagram, hopefully you're using the creator or business account if you're on Instagram, not just the personal, because those are going to get you the analytics. So you can see specifically, what reel did people watch the most last month? What was that topic? Probably means it's a good one, right? So maybe I should reproduce that. You can even see link clicks. Maybe I'm marketing listings on Instagram and I did this one specific video this way, and that actually got more link clicks than these others that I did differently. Excuse me. So it's all going back to that intention. If you're looking at your analytics, you're better able to plan with intention.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
And so a lot of our members do have a lot of questions. They are obviously really loving this information, and we'll get to those in a second. We're just going to get back to a couple of other questions that I have for you about branding. So let's talk about branding for our realtors. For agents who think branding is just logos and colors, How would you explain what real estate brand actually is? And I hear this a lot, and they're like, well, I just need to make everything orange because that's my brand, right? So
Yeah.
can you explain to them a little bit more specific what that is?
I mean, there is such a thing as visual branding, right? That's what those colors are. Or if you're the realtor that's always in a Hawaiian shirt, or you're the bling lady, or Ruby Miranda, we all know her as the real estate queen with her tiara on. That's actually partially why I wore some red lips today, because sometimes if I show up somewhere without red lips, people are like, hey, where's your lipstick? So there is such a thing about visual branding, but it's not just about colors, logos, fonts. It's about what people say when you're not in the room, right? It's how people feel during the process of working with you. It's what you're known for, or why someone chooses you over the other agent. They're not choosing you over the other agent because you're the bling lady, right?
Right,
They're
right.
choosing you because of the other ways that you're showing up, and because of the ways that people are talking about you when you're not in the room. Again, referrals, right? If somebody's referring somebody to you and they've said, oh, yes, you've got to go to Claudia, she is an expert in X, Y, and Z, that referral has already sold them more than I ever could. Right. So it's how you communicate, it's how you follow up, it's how you explain the process, and it's all about also how consistent you are. So it's not just visual, it's emotional and experiential, right? It's about creating that experience for them, making things clear. And the clearer you are, the faster you will build trust, and people will be more confident in referring you to others. Maybe, again, I'm using you as my example, Claudia. Maybe I know Claudia to be the luxury realtor. She helped me with a luxury property. I wish. She helped me with a luxury property. But then I go to her socials and I'm not seeing luxury, right? My referral might still be there, but it might not be as confident as it would be if you were showing up, matching that description, matching that brand, and matching what I know about you.
Right. And that's a really great example, because recently I was looking for a company that did headshots, and I got recommendations from other people. Before then, I had looked on these people's Facebook pages and hadn't seen posts since like 2023. And I thought, wow, are they still in business? Like, are they still working in this industry? And so not just the recommendation from somebody else, but like now I see that you're not active. So I'm confused as to what your brand is. Are you still doing this? So it's really important to come at it from all sides, right? Not just the recommendation, the referral, but what you're posting on social media. So that's really important. Okay, so we have a question from Fernando. He said, I would like to send email marketing, but I'm concerned with the do not contact list and not knowing the rules. And I don't want to get in trouble. So what should I be aware of? I'm sure a few realtors have this question as well.
Yeah, do some Googling. I'm not going to give anyone legal advice here today, but do some Googling and find out exactly what is allowed and what is not allowed. Also, this is an area that if it were me, I would utilize things that are already in place that are there to help you. Don't go try to recreate the wheel. Use the HAR CRM, or use, an email marketing company that's professional and is in place, because they're going to make sure that you're also falling within the guidelines as well. But if you don't know, Fernando, we've got a great email marketing feature in the HAR CRM. So I encourage people to go check that out.
Right. So yes, check out the tools that we already offer at HAR. Instead of, like someone mentioned earlier, going out and spending money that is unnecessary. So now I'm going to answer a question from Felita, but I also want you to answer it in a different way. So she asked, can we do different videos targeting different groups, i.e. buyers, sellers, first-time home buyers, luxury? I'm going to answer it in the way as if she's asking me as the director. And of course, if you want to come into the studio, you're more than welcome to do multiple videos, videos about anything regarding real estate. So we do offer that service, but I'd like Christina to answer about, should we expand the variety of videos that we create, and should we keep it to just business? Should it be personal as well? What works best?
Well, if you are targeting those different groups, Felita, and those are your goals and your true clients, then yes, I think you should be creating those different videos. But again, don't spread yourself too thin. If there's a specific focus you really want to hone in on, just again looking at your list there, maybe it's just buyers, maybe it's just luxury, or maybe it's luxury buyers, right? Or luxury sellers. I would recommend kind of narrowing that list down a little more. But if you truly are doing all those different aspects of business, that's awesome. And you definitely should be creating content for them.
Right. That's great advice.
Did I answer both? Did I answer the whole question there? Okay.
Yes. All right. Excuse me. So social media is a big part of marketing, right? Obviously, it's not the only part. There's a real world out there without keyboards and without screens. So how should agents think about social media just within their bigger strategy for marketing?
Yeah, I think realtors should think about it as just one piece of a very big marketing puzzle. It's not the whole thing, okay? And again, if you don't have a plan, you could make it end up taking up most of your time and you think about it as the whole thing, but it's not, right? It's an incredible tool for visibility, for connection, for staying top of mind. I literally, in some of my classes, refer to Facebook as the largest, freest CRM you're ever going to have, because it allows you to stay connected and stay top of mind. But it shouldn't be the only place you're showing up. So if you have to think about, if all of social media platforms went down tomorrow, where would people find you? Right. So smarter marketing, again, it's diversified. So you need to pair your social media with email, with community involvement, with reviews, referrals, and very, very strong listing marketing. Every channel, every social media channel, and every channel via email, whatever it is, plays a different role. And together they create a much stronger presence. So social media really should just support your strategy and not carry all of the weight if you're trying to be effective.
Right. That's great. Okay. And as far as social media goes, I know there's the trap of that realtors feel that they need to be on every platform, right? I got to be all over them. So you mentioned this earlier. So how can they avoid that? And what are the most important platforms right now?
Yeah. I'm a, people always ask me, people always ask me, do I need to be everywhere? And honestly, no. And when I say that to people, it's usually a huge relief. Like I just see the weight fall from their shoulders. You do not, again, giving you another permission gift here this morning. You do not have to be everywhere. Realtors, you do not have to be everywhere. You only need to be where your audience actually is. And again, different platforms support different purposes, and not every platform makes sense for every agent or every business model. One or two platforms done really well is better than 5 done inconsistently. So again, if you try to be everywhere, you're going to spread yourself too thin. The content quality drops, and your marketing is going to feel overwhelming, and it's not going to be strategic, and it's not going to be effective. So when you focus on fewer platforms, you're going to be able to show up more consistently, make better connections, and actually see results. There's a lot of different ways to build an audience, to engage your audience, all of that stuff. People talk about spending X amount of minutes a day on Instagram, commenting on people's posts, or DMing people, or whatever the case is. You can't do that if you're spreading yourself too thin across 5 or 6 different platforms, right? And again, just a couple examples here. If your business comes from a lot of past clients and referrals, the largest, freest CRM, Facebook, is probably going to make a lot of sense for you because you're staying connected and top of mind. If you work with a lot of first-time buyers or younger clients, Instagram or short-form video platforms might be a better fit because that's where they're spending a lot of their time. If you're focused on networking, leadership, higher level conversations, or maybe you came from a different industry. I spent 30 years as an engineer and now I'm in real estate. LinkedIn might actually be your strongest platform. So choosing key platforms based on your actual audience and your goals is ideal. And again, permission to not be everywhere. I'm just giving it to you.
All right. And so, I mean, that also means you get busy, right? So, for busy agents, what does a realistic weekly marketing rhythm look like? I know, should I post twice a week, every day,
Yeah.
once a week? We get that question all the time as well.
Yeah. You know, yes, you don't have to post every day. I'll just say that again, permission to not post every day, 5 times a day. We don't need to see what you eat for lunch every single day. We really don't. But I also recommend for people to have some kind of content pillars. It sounds very official, but it's just the things kind of like Felito was mentioning earlier, first time buyers, luxury sellers. What are the pieces of content that I want to consistently post about? Take those and then come up with a weekly rhythm that makes sense for you. For most agents, 2 to 3 posts a week can be more than enough as long as they are intentional. Again, it's about consistency. People tune into Member Focused Monday because I'm here every Monday at 9 a.m. They know that, they depend on that. It's a part of their week. I have people who tell me, oh, yeah, I sit down with you every Monday and have my coffee, or I put you on when I'm at the gym on Mondays at 9. So it's a consistency, and people know to look for it, right? So posting a few solid pieces of content every week, week after week, builds trust more than posting every day for a month and then now I'm burned out and I completely disappeared, right? So yeah, so again, you don't have to post daily to be effective. You don't want to flood people's feeds. It's about knowing your audience and showing up with consistent content. So an example of a weekly rhythm, it could look like one educational post earlier in the week, maybe a market tip or common buyer or seller question, and then maybe one personal or local post, something that shows your personality or your connection to the community. And then if you have time, maybe another specifically business related post, maybe later in the week. Maybe it's Friday and I'm getting ready for, showings and open houses, something along those lines. That is just maybe 4 days a week. And again, it's strategy. It's an educational post. It's a community related post. It's a business post. It's a market update. HAR is providing you market reports literally weekly at this point, and multiple different kinds of them. You could be reposting those, but you also could be analyzing them and creating your own content for your specific niche audience. So it doesn't have to be that complicated, but come up with a rhythm that works for you and makes sense for you and your schedule.
Right. Yeah, that's great. And it becomes obviously a routine, and you can name them, Tuesday tips, whatever, but it starts just like
Yeah.
Member Focused Monday. It becomes expected by your audience. So now you have to post every Tuesday that tip, because they'll start waiting for it. So, all right. So you mentioned community, and Zach asked, what types of community involvement are you speaking of? So you can post about the work that you're doing around the community, but what else can we be doing regarding community?
People love to know that you are giving back to your community. I'm not just here to make money for my community. I'm giving back to my community. I'm involved in my community. I'll use myself as an example. I live in League City. We have our families in League City. If you're ever in our area and there's a community event going on, we're probably there. And I love when I see local businesses, small businesses, independent entrepreneurs like realtors or whoever it is out there in the community. Maybe they have a tent at the event, or maybe they're just volunteering. They're giving their time. And I love seeing that because that shows me that they're showing up with intention, they're giving back, and they're feeding the community that feeds them. And I just think that's really important, Zach. So it really could look like anything, but getting involved in a local way. It doesn't have to be hyper local. Maybe it's just I go to the Houston Food Bank once a month and spend some time there, whatever the case is. But giving back to your community is a really strong way to build confidence, to feel good as well. It's not just about marketing, right? But it helps you feel good. But it's going to build that trust and show people that you're a whole person, right? You're not just this figurehead or this logo.
Right, right. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so now this is similar to some of the questions we're getting from our
Okay.
audience, but beyond social media, what are other marketing channels that realtors should be paying more attention to in 2026?
Yeah. I would think about the ones that build long-term trust, not just short-term visibility, right? It's great if your reel goes viral, but how long is that really going to last for you, right? Email, we've already mentioned a little bit. That's a big one. And it's one of the few ways that you consistently stay in touch with your audience without relying on an algorithm. You are right there in their inbox. So you don't have to worry about the algorithm, right? Community involvement, which we just mentioned. Thank you, Zach, for that question. Is another. You get to show up locally, events, schools, neighborhoods, small businesses, other small businesses, highlighting other small businesses. It builds credibility. Referrals and reviews are also huge because they come with built-in trust. I always encourage people showcase those reviews and referrals. Thank those people for reviewing you and referring you. Make it known that this is important to you, and also strong listing marketing. Listings aren't just about selling that one home. I think some people kind of get stuck on that. I've got to feature this listing because I've got to get it sold. When you are marketing a listing, you are also marketing to your future business. So show potential clients how you work, how you present properties, and what kind of experience they can expect from you when you are listing their property. So all of those different channels, they kind of work together to create repeat business and referrals. And that doesn't always have to be flashy, but they are incredibly effective.
Right. And you come at it from all sides, right? Just from every angle. So that's great. And so you talked about planning ahead, obviously. And so mentioning that 90-day blocks instead of a full year. Why does that work better for most people? So they don't feel super overwhelmed. Is that just a better number? What do you think?
Yeah, I misled you guys a little bit because I said we're planning our marketing for the year, but I encourage you to plan it in 90-day blocks, as you just said. Number one, because it feels more doable. Trying to think of what I'm going to be doing in October or November is just incredibly daunting and overwhelming. And especially in real estate where the market is constantly changing and your business and your priorities sometimes change very quickly. So quarterly planning gives you enough structure to stay focused, but flexibility to pivot or adjust when things aren't working. So you can test out ideas, utilize some of these things I meant. Think about your content pillars, think about your specific audience, and create content that you think is going to work for them. But in 90 days, right at the end of the quarter, if you feel like something's not working or you want to try something else, you can easily pivot. And also this helps prevent burnout. Instead of trying to plan everything perfectly in January, you're giving yourself permission to check in, as Mary said earlier, looking at those analytics and making sure things are working. And then of course you can course correct if it's not working. Because again, smarter marketing isn't supposed to be rigid. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be responsive, and 90-day planning in those blocks, it really supports that.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for that. So I know some people have questions about any new tips for new agents, and we're going to cover kind of what your overall tips are. But somebody asked, let's see, Mary said, any big marketing shifts for 2026?
I think diversification is just such an important one. And I know we already kind of talked about this a little bit, but diversification and showing up, authentically with intention, it's not a big shift, but it's something that I think a lot of us sometimes need to refocus on. I think sometimes we just get bogged down with everything we're seeing in our news feed and everything we're seeing from other agents. But really, I would say the biggest shift that I would encourage for you is to use some of this stuff that we're talking about today, create that 90-day plan with intention, with the specific audience in mind, with the content pillars, to really make this work for you and not feel like busy work. As far as marketing shifts specifically, like what's trending, all that kind of stuff, there's always something. There's something new every day. But I would say one of the things that you and I have been looking at, because for years we've been saying shorter is better, quick video, get in and out. Yes, that is still a thing. That is still important. But we're seeing a return a little bit in some areas to longer form video. So one platform we haven't mentioned at all today is YouTube. YouTube is still very, very important. Right now, we're streaming to both Facebook and YouTube. There's a reason for that, right? So, considering short form video, but also if you haven't thought at all about longer form video or what that might look like for you, that might be a great area to look into, because we are seeing people sit down for longer periods of time. If the content is good, they'll sit and listen.
Right. Yeah, that's great. Yeah, and don't be afraid to make it, even if it's longer. This is longer, but people are still watching. They're asking questions, and we're giving them a lot of great information. So that's great.
Yeah.
And so we talked a lot about what everybody should be doing, or advice that we want to give them on what they should be doing. What should they not be doing? What should they stop doing in 2026 when it comes to marketing?
I think just constantly comparing ourselves to everyone else. We do it in a lot of different aspects of life, unfortunately, and social media just makes it way too easy to compare yourself to everyone else. It's so easy to scroll and think everyone else has it figured out and I don't, and it's just not fair, and I don't even know what to do anymore. And again, scrolling, I don't think of it as scrolling. I think of it as wasting time, because that's exactly what you're doing, because that's where that comparison comes from. So the one thing I would encourage everyone to stop doing this year is comparing yourself to others. Other people's strategies, other people's marketing techniques don't always fit for your business, your market, your goals. So what works for you might be completely wrong for someone else. So stop watching what everyone's doing and really think about your goals and what's going to be best for you this year. Put it into a 90-day plan. And at the end of those 90 days, analyze and pivot if you need to.
Great. So, and that leads into this question, that if somebody watches this episode and does nothing else, what's the takeaway you hope they walk away with? What's kind of the most important thing that they should have heard today?
If someone only takes, I think, one thing from today's episode, I hope it's that, marketing doesn't have to feel overwhelming. Says the woman who just gabbed on for 42 minutes about marketing. But it doesn't have to feel overwhelming. You don't have to do everything. You don't need to be everywhere. You don't need to follow every trend. A simple, intentional plan will always outperform chaos. So know your goals, understand your audience, and choose strategies that will work for you, that you can stick with. Come up with that plan, that weekly rhythm that works for you too, because again, you don't need more marketing, you need clearer marketing, and show up with intention instead of just throwing spaghetti on the wall.
Right. Yeah, that's so great. Thank you, Christina, for all of that information. Now, one last thing you want to mention to our members, and where can they go to learn more, get resources, or contact you and your team?
Yeah, so I'm easy to find. You guys see me every week, but my email address is Christina@hr.com. People usually spell it wrong though, so I tell people social@hr.com might be another easy way to find me. But you can learn more and connect with me a few different ways through HAR. One place that I do want to recommend, if you are wanting to take more class, I saw a couple comments and questions. I'm sorry, my thing keeps popping out. I saw a couple comments and questions about taking classes. Somebody said something about AI classes. har.com/education. We have a full slate of classes. We are offering classes pretty much daily at this point, and different trainings that cover marketing, social media, technology tools for realtors at all experience levels. I know I saw somebody asking about new agents. All experience levels can get classes from HAR. So har.com/education. Also, I just did this recently with the HAR 290 area networking group. I'm always happy to come speak for different area networking groups, affiliate groups, different conferences and events that are going on. I love being able to come connect with you guys and talk about whatever you would like. I tailor those presentations to whatever the group is looking for. And so again, some of those sessions are my favorite because it's so interactive and I get to be out there and have fun with you guys. And of course, You can connect with me on all of HAR's social media channels. Shameless plug, but if you're not following us on the platforms that you are on, please go follow us. We put out a lot of different great content. Like I said, we're putting out weekly weekly market updates. And all kinds of different classes and great stuff, events, different things that are going on that we encourage you to attend. And just make sure you're following us and staying in the know.
Great. All right. So everybody knows where, how. I'm sure, I don't think it's hard to find you. So you make yourself available to our members, which I'm sure they all really appreciate it. So, Christina, thank you so much for joining us today and giving us all this practical information. And I hope that this approach, makes marketing a little more doable instead of really overwhelming for our agents. And I think it did help them. So if you're watching and you want to start 2026 with more clarity, more confidence, and smarter plan, we hope today's conversation gave you a few ideas you can put into action right away. So thank you so much, Christina. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Member Focus Monday. Next week, we will be joined by Renee Galvan, who is set to become HR's CEO in just a few days. So be sure to tune in and have a great week.
Yeah, absolutely. See you next week, everyone. Bye-bye.